Inside this room, all of my dreams become realities, and some of my realities become dreams.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here? Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
You are listening to The Wilder Ride, getting wilder by the minute. Here are your hosts, Alan Sanders and Walt Murray.
And welcome back to The Wilder Ride, Getting Wilder by the Minute, a podcast where we break down and celebrate the films of Gene Wilder 1 minute at a time. And we are in the midst of Season 1, dedicated to reanimating young Frankenstein. I'm Alan Sanders.
And I'm Walt Murray.
And our guest today, once again, the host and co-host of BK on the Air, Barry BK King, and Mike Commander Clark. Thanks for straightening up the place after you asked if you could just lay low here for a while and be ready for today's broadcast. We appreciate that.
Well, hello, handsome. You're a good-looking fella. Do you know that? People laugh at you. People hate you. But you know why they hate you? Because they're jealous.
What the are you reading?
Look at that boyish face. Look at that sweet smile. Talk about physical strength. Do you want to talk about
from
sheer
young Frankenstein?
muscle?
You obviously have not read ahead.
Yeah, yes, because that's when he's locked in the room.
Think about Alan, yeah. Look at that face.
Wow. Look at you.
Look at you.
Look at
that handsome face.
Get me out of here. Get me the hell out of here.
So we want to jump ahead.
Yeah, we jumped ahead.
Which is ironic because as he was saying that, that's the first thing I was thinking of. Give me that out of here. What the what's going on?
He was doing the movie with me. That's perfect.
I'm like, well,
welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for deciding to forego live radio for, podcast.
This is live while we're here, right?
It's live. It is live right now.
We're alive.
Although with the late hour, all of us might be getting our share of I don't know, near-death experiences when we return home to our respective others.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself. I'm fine.
You're fine?
I'm good.
I'm
Ryan
good.
will probably be asleep.
I'll be editing this.
Yeah, as we speak, my wife is loaded up on painkillers, so we're good.
And you'll be loaded up on the way home.
Yeah, I'll be loaded when I get home.
I'm going to be loaded not long after I get home. Well, let's get rolling to minute 44 here on the Wilder Ride, where we start off with Dr. Frankenstein saying, "This is the moment," and we will end with him saying, "Our greatest dread has always been our..." And we're not going to quite figure out what our greatest dread has always been, but there's a lot that happens in between, including a very clueless Dr. Frankenstein.
Yes, Dr. Frankenstein, Dean Stein.
Say it!
Very
Froderick.
I don't think that I have ever been that preoccupied with anything where I don't notice the opposite sex in my life. So
No,
I haven't been that into anything.
Now, I would say the opposite sex has distracted me from a lot of other
just the
stuff.
opposite. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
I failed several tests in high school because of the opposite sex.
No question.
I was supposed to do what?
Exactly. Yeah, I have never been that single-minded of purpose that...
How could you fail the test in the sex ed class?
Now, I would say that as Amy's listening to this, she's like, no, you're clueless. But
I wish I could say the same. I miss all the signs.
I mean, there are plenty of signs I miss, but...
Yeah.
I miss a lot anyway. My wife has told me multiple times, she's like, "You are the most clueless person." I'm like, maybe that's why I didn't get any dates in high school. I was like, nobody really wants to hang out with a Charlie in the box.
That's funny. Alan's wife has told us about him. That was the same thing.
My wife is now saying, "What the was I thinking?"
Yeah.
She's the one, "Get me out, get me out, get me out of here."
Well, that's what she was quoting on Facebook earlier.
Going to be quoting that line here at some point.
Yes.
See, I hope the guest that they have for those minutes where he's locked in with a monster can't show and they got to call us back.
I hope so.
I'd love to do that minute.
Yes. They need to be at least this animated.
Yes. So, yeah. So that would be great. But this is a great scene that we're looking at now, and you're right. Inga, there's two conversations going on there, as you said earlier. He wants...
Well, when you said earlier, elevated. Before we even started rolling.
Right, before we... Yeah,
yes.
You're going to have the microphones on. He says, elevate me. And she's like, here now, you know?
Right. You say we're gonna push the monster off the table.
That's right.
This is really good writing. When you can have the scene play out and each person is involved in the dialogue and it works both ways. It works like she's thinking he's meaning one thing, and so she's responding to what she thinks he's saying, and he's saying something to her and thinks she's responding to him the way he's expecting, and yet they both are exact polar opposites of where they think the other one is.
And she gets it. She figures out what's going on. he never
gets it.
Never gets it. He has
Well,
no
he's
clue.
doesn't he, like, yes, now where else would you elevate me?
Yeah.
Right.
And I'll add to it.
Go
It
ahead
is
and-
great writing, but it's also great acting because they both
yeah.
sell it completely. Both of our actors. Fantastic.
Yeah.
He's laughing at.
He's insane.
Teri Garr,
Yes.
because she's not Elizabeth. We've established that.
right.
She
Oh,
is so
no.
different than
She's
Elizabeth.
the
Yes.
opposite
Mhm.
Elizabeth.
And where Gene Wilder wants Elizabeth so bad, I mean, he'll take anything, even an elbow rub back on the station before boarding the train. Here, completely misses just not only the naivete that is within Inga, but also it's such a sweetness. And when she's trying to like give herself to him because she's so like into the doctor, he's oblivious.
Yeah,
Absolutely
It's
oblivious.
Inga's version of herself throwing herself at him. Her version of it. An
Yes.
innocent type. Yes, I'm available.
And
he doesn't get it.
If you think about Teri Garr, this was really her breakout role. She had done a lot of television. She'd been like buried into the sand on the, what is it, with, who was the, Annette Funicello, and she'd
Right.
done other
Oh,
things
right.
like that.
Well,
The Beach movie. She was
she's
a
on Star
go-go
Trek.
dancer.
Terry Garr was in Assignment Earth Star Trek where
Yep.
she played a ditzy
That's
secretary.
right. Yeah.
Which
And it was
aired
actually-
on my birthday back in, what, 68?
Right, and it was a pilot for a new show, believe it or not, that Star Trek was trying to spin off about a guy on Earth and whatnot. And Terry Garr played his secretary. But
Yes.
Terry's what else? Star Trek. She went
Close
on, did she
Encounters.
win- Close Encounters. Did she win an award for Tootsie? Who won an Academy Award or something for Tootsie? Somebody was nominated or something. I can't remember what.
Maybe nominated. I don't
But
remember.
she played a great role in
She
Tootsie
was
with
great.
Dustin Hoffman.
I think it was, what's her name from King Kong, the 76.
Jessica Lange.
Jessica Lange. Was,
And when they said that they
Did
cast
Garr- maybe Teri Garr did too. I'd have to go look that
I
up.
can't remember. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
have to check it out and see because
Listeners, here we go. There's another thing, because I'm not going to look it up
Send them a
now.
message.
We got stuff to do here.
That's
So
Yes.
it's a task for the listener.
More
while you're
rambling
listening.
on.
food to eat.
Food to eat.
Well, and I think too,
Fish sticks?
you know, we've
Fish sticks.
talked about
Love 'em.
earlier the switch between the two characters that Teri Garr ended up taking this role instead of the Elizabeth role or whatever.
No, it was initially that, yeah.
Yeah, I've got it backwards. And Madeline Kahn was going to be the.
Yes.
I think that Teri Garr plays this scene better than Madeline Kahn would have. I think Madeline Kahn would have done great. I think we would have enjoyed the scene. But I think that Teri Garr has that kind of sweet
the innocence.
innocence
Yes.
that Madeline Kahn may not have been able to sell
And
here.
not taking anything away from Madeline Kahn. She's a great
Not
actress.
at
She's a
all.
former
No,
singer,
absolutely
too.
not.
She's a great actress.
Yes.
Also, one could also say Teri Garr would not have been as good as Elizabeth.
No doubt.
I
And,
don't
I,
think
and I
so.
think Madeline Kahn plays that
Right.
role of Elizabeth perfectly. And so I think that the two of them, or, you know, Madeline Kahn moving into that other role and Teri Garr taking this role, she really kills this scene.
Right. And what's that called? That's called, that's casting.
Yes.
I love
Casting.
it when they cast. They get the
cast.
cast.
So there's
Say
actually a
casting,
term
but
for
think
that.
about it. They did not. You say casting.
Well, their final
Madeline
choice.
Kahn had the power to be able to say, "I would rather play Elizabeth," and they
Right.
went along with what she preferred.
True. Which
know?
was a smaller part.
But
It was the
maybe,
smaller part.
maybe Madeline realized herself, oh, this is a bad casting choice. I'll change this.
Well, I think what I've read about her is she felt that she identified with Elizabeth and what Elizabeth's arc was, even though it's a smaller role. She felt she could play that much more as the script would call for it than to play the Inga part. She just did. It's not like she couldn't have done Inga. She just felt I would do a better job with Elizabeth, and they trusted her.
Terry played a lot of the same roles though throughout her career. Look at what we're used to seeing her as. Maybe not with Tootsie, notwithstanding with the role she
Right.
played in Tootsie. Star Trek, Ditzy secretary.
Yes.
Inga in Young Frankenstein, innocent, blonde.
Yep.
We don't think she's dumb, but she's not very maybe
No,
worldly.
she's more naive.
She's not
Yeah,
worldly.
naive.
Yeah,
More
right.
naive.
Doctor could help her with that, but he's oblivious. What was the other film thing? We're
No,
talking about?
Close Encounters, yeah, where she's
as
the
the
wife.
mom in Close Encounters.
And she
that's
feels
where
helpless.
She really
Mom.
grew, though.
Yes.
But
because
she's still the mom that's got no control over anything. Maybe she's not. I'm not saying she's dumb, but she's that flustered character that's
She is.
not, that's out of sorts. Maybe,
no,
is what I'm
but
thinking of.
this definitely got Spielberg's eye with this role, watching her here to play that than in Close Encounters, because there is a much more complex role than this playing in Close Encounters. So
Right,
she
and
was
it
definitely
only-
growing as
And
an
it was
actress.
only a couple of years later after this, so 77. You're right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I think this too is a fairly complex scene because she really has to sell the fact that she's totally into him. She is doing a love scene, but then it gets turned around on her that it's not a love scene, that this is still him being the doctor and her being the assistant, and now she's got to run over and
Well, yeah, again, his obsession pushes her aside.
That's
and
right.
she just, this is how I will.
This is my role.
This is how I get him.
I do.
But I don't think we feel sorry for her. What's funny is how she sells this. First, it's like, here? She's all sheepish. Like, I may consider it, but here?
Okay.
And she's sort of into it. And then when he says, well, yeah. And she's like, go to the switch or whatever. And she's like,
yeah, lift the table.
The dawning realization. She's like, silly me. And she goes over and does her job. It keeps it funny.
Yeah. And and both of them missed. They both missed each other. He missed what she was throwing down, and he missed what she was throwing down.
And as a younger kid, when I first saw this, I didn't get that nuance of the movie. I got a lot of the other stuff. I wasn't really, into that worldly stuff quite yet.
Right.
High school.
Yeah.
I knew what kissing was, but hey, that's about it. But I didn't get that part. But as you watch the movie and you get older and you see all the nuances like that, that's true.
And I do love how when she gets over to the wheel that raises the table, she's so serious and just ready. It's like, come at me, doctor.
Yeah.
And then Igor's there too, and you don't know who he's looking at.
Yeah, whatever.
So
Yeah.
really
You never do.
Yeah, you never know what's going on there.
There is an interesting, and I don't know why they choose to do it this way, if it's supposed to be comedic or if it's just supposed to over-exaggerate they're ready. Because as they're both on each side of the giant wheel, there's a cut into Marty Feldman first, where he's basically an extreme close-up, and he immediately jumps, almost over-exaggerates to grab the wheel. And it cuts over to Inga, who does the exact same thing on the other side of the wheel. And for me, I actually have a little bit of an issue with that. It feels, why are you doing that? What do you feel when you guys, I'll start with you, Mike. When you see that, does it bother you at all that they do that, or do you find that funny? And if you do, can you explain it to me why it is?
Another one I got to explain to you.
Please, yes.
Okay.
I'm having some trouble with these minutes because I've got another issue too, but I got to deal with this one first.
It does not bother me. I will say that. I think, again, what the director, Mel Brooks, was going for is we've passed the joke of the missed love connection. So now he's getting back to the seriousness of the monster movie, and he wants to start raising that tension again. And they're very tense, and we're going to do this right now. And that's why they do that. It's not for laughs.
Okay.
Well, now I agree with that only till the last part. I disagree with it. That's true.
Don't bang the mic.
As I smack your microphone.
Don't smack the mic.
You need to get that mad.
Hey, it's a new game by Milton Bradley. Don't smack the mic.
I think that we've went through the joke that we just went through, but now we're getting back to the sense of urgency of the scene of what's going on. But I do think cutting to them getting ready and doing that was done intentionally because I think it is funny. That's why it was done that way. There's a lot of things in this movie that were done because it's funny.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's done. So. It's done for the same reason Marty Feldman is all of a sudden downstairs from the upstairs in one shot, in one quick edit. That's funny. It's just sometimes you just throw funny in there. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that about that scene with the two of them gripping the wheel is they're gripping it in a way that they're pulling against each other. And there's no way they can.
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, it is funny. And it also wouldn't have worked any other way because, you can't show her like grip the bottom of the wheel or whatever, to show that they're working together on it. I don't know. I guess I've never really thought about that scene that much other than the fact that they're grabbing it and they're ready to go and he's ready to go. And then he kind of cranks into his speech.
Well, this is the first time we've done a podcast where you look at it a minute at a time. That's right.
That is true.
Looked at it
that is true. I was going to do all the episodes of Andy Griffith a second at a time, but I decided to.
Hey, we could do it. We could do it.
We could do it.
Well, I guess I'll go with it does telegraph visually urgency all of a sudden. We got to get to it. Hurry up. Let's get to it. The storm's coming. Let's remember what we said. We don't have a lot of time to waste. We've got to get this going.
I don't remember. Is there a burst of music there too? I think to heighten the tension.
No, I don't think so. There,
not right there.
They do this very little. Marty Feldman's the only one who really gets away with the true mugging for the camera. But this, to me, is overly done body language for the sake of saying it's urgent. Well, okay, I know it's urgent. He told you to go there. And she's like, oh, okay, but it just feels like it's one of those little moments. It's not going to make the movie bad or anything. It's just for me. I'm like, it's a little stagey. We're making a movie.
Well,
Right.
come on, get over it. It's not Shakespeare. Let's move on.
Come on, it's just a movie.
It's just goofy.
Just a movie.
It's just goofy.
Dad, what do you think? That's just a movie.
It's just a movie.
That's the explanation.
Just
It's
a
in the
scene
script.
in a movie.
It's in the script. That's why they did it. It was written in the script.
The director told him to, and they
That's
said yes,
right.
sir.
So said it be.
Well,
So motive.
And I guess it's because it's on the heels of another problem I have. At least I got to ask the question.
Here we
I need
go,
to know.
Alan and his problems.
I got problems.
You've got problems.
You've got issues.
He accepts the fact that a dead thing is coming back to life. He doesn't have the problem with that.
Wait,
Not
That's
yet.
the thing.
Well, we didn't get there.
Why
Yeah, no,
would
but
somebody
we know
have a
it's gonna
problem with
happen.
that?
We know it's
Well,
going to
no.
happen.
But here's
So
what's the other
after the misunderstanding, and she's like, "Oh, yes, doctor, I'm going to go over to the wheel." While she's heading across the scene, you see Dr. Frankenstein putting the stethoscope in his ears, and he's leaning down. Now we don't see that but it's obvious he's over the creature. What is he listening for, Walt?
Well, I thought the same thing. I was like, he's dead.
Like,
We haven't done anything yet.
'Cause if he
Unless
came
I
to
missed
life
something,
already-
there's no electricity flowing.
like, what's the point of the kite and the generator and the lab if all you needed to do was strap him down for a while and put a stethoscope on his heart?
Yeah, he's
BK,
dead.
wait.
I mean, they dug him up.
This is a legitimate question, and it
I know,
requires
it's a
some
legitimate-
discussion.
I know. It's a legitimate question.
Why does he do it?
He wants to know if his condition has changed.
Well, let me know. If
You're
there's any-
stealing from top secret
Yes,
now.
I am.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Let me know.
Well, let me know if there's any change in his condition.
He's dead.
He's dead. Thank you. Thank you for
That's
getting
the-
the reference.
That's the reason. You got it.
I mean,
Well, I mean, I think
just
it
think-
could
stages
it
the
possi-
fact
okay, well,
that
let's explore that. Could it possibly be because if it's a true, legitimate reanimation, he has to make 100% sure this guy's dead. There's no second guessing. I'm going to check one last time. I mean, it's like that. It's like checking the oven 15 times before you go on vacation. Or that, did I unplug the iron? You remember 10 times I unplugged it, but did I only remember thinking I unplugged it, or did I actually unplug it? Is he checking the heart one last time just to make sure he's dead? Not mostly dead, all dead.
that is one
You can come
potential
back.
explanation. I will disagree, however.
Okay.
Now,
Then you tell me why he's doing it.
Yes.
Because you said you have a problem with
Enlighten
it
us,
too.
Walt.
No, I think what they're really doing here is just establishing the fact that he's in doctor mode. And that, when you see your doctor, you go to the hospital, they're tedious about their craft. And I think that is part of him just being the doctor. He's going to put the stethoscope in, he's going to listen, and that he is in serious doctor mode here. And I think that's what they're establishing. But you could be right. He could also be sitting there going, I'm about to reanimate a body, and dadgummit, I'm going to make sure that this thing is dead as a doornail before we throw the switch.
So here's the thing. I've watched a lot of doctor shows, and when the body dies, like when they lose the patient, like, all right, we're calling it, there's always that last check to make sure, did we miss anything? And then they walk away. They're done. They don't keep listening to see if it's, I mean, they do one last check. Okay, it's dead. And that's the only thing I can think of. If you talk about medicine, he's just double checking he's dead. He can't be checking his, I don't know. Barry, help me.
I think there's two answers to this.
No, there's got to be one.
No, there's two, because it depends on who you talk to.
Apparently.
There's two answers, I think, to this. Maybe you back me up on this, Mike. Yes, that could be what he's doing if you're looking for the logical, sober, sensible reason for why he has stethoscope with the monster, and the monster is dead.
Well, he
wants
has the
to-
stethoscope because he knows he's
Well,
going to
they
need
had
it
to-
later.
Right. Well, no, we know
him.
why he has it. He wants to know why he's using it.
No,
right
I
now.
know. I understand.
He may be indeed checking to make sure that he is dead because he doesn't want to do that to an alive person, to a person that's still alive. The other reason that I probably lean more toward is because it's funny. It's funny that he's got a stethoscope. It's funny that he's doing it. I think it's a nonsensical, funny thing that he's doing. Is also just as a viable
It is funny he's doing.
for it.
Now, he has a stethoscope, obviously, because he's going to have to check the heart
Right, he's-
after the
right,
experiment.
Right. He could have picked it up later, though, and put it on.
Well, he could
after
have.
The guy got
Well, now
hit by
he's
the
looking all, again, with Walt, he's looking all doctor-like right now, and
Right.
he is in doctor mode.
But even if you say it, well, a doctor has a stethoscope and he needs to make sure.
And then
they're
he's
on-
gonna do
but
his
he's
soliloquy.
dead, though. There's no
Well,
reason to have it.
and he is
So-
kind of nuts. So
Yeah.
He's getting
there
there. Yeah,
is
you're
a
right.
sense in
He's
which
getting there.
maybe he is confirming to himself that this guy's dead. This is a dead
Well, then you're
body.
on then you're on Team Sanders on this one.
I think you've brought me around a little bit.
Well, and I think the reason he's got to, the one thing that we've been following this whole time, this whole adventure so far, is he was either going to prove this is all wackadoo nonsense, or when he finds the notes and realizes it can be done, he still believes in the scientific method. You can't prove it worked if the body's still alive. You have to make sure the body's dead before you can actually prove that it works.
Yeah, and I think for most people, the fact that you put a brain back in him.
Barry? You nodded.
No, there's two answers.
See,
your answer is correct.
We're still going to go with
your answer is correct.
I like
the
it
other one is viable too.
If he doesn't confirm the body is dead and it comes back to life, he then can't claim that I gave it life.
Exactly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's the scientific method taken to like the worst possible extreme. Yes. I need you to be fully 100% without a doubt dead, so I can bring you back to life and take all the credit
and take all the credit.
But kind of like how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie-roll pop. We may never know why.
3. That's what the owl says.
Yes.
Let's find out. 1, 2, 3. 3.
He licks it 3 times.
Three.
Bites it.
And if you don't remember the commercial, you should YouTube it right now.
Then you get all the pieces.
Right.
How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? Let's find out. 1, 2, 3.
That owl used to piss me off. I was always like, that owl stole his sucker.
Yeah. And then you see the kids looking like, hey.
but how many of us in this room tried to do that? Got to about 50 minutes. It was like, screw this.
Oh, I always got to the part where that little bit of the syrup made like a little indentation, and next thing you know, I'm cutting my lip on the inside of the Tootsie Pop part.
Not me. I never could wait. I was fat. I had to eat it. I mean, I'm sorry. I couldn't wait.
I didn't like you got the pieces of the lollipop in your gum or your Tootsie Roll.
Since we're on this particular rabbit trail, which is your preference? Tootsie Pop or Blow Pop? Because they both were the same outer shell.
Yeah.
But different insides. For the most part. I mean, unless you like the... Well, they had that weird Tootsie Pop that was like the root beer flavor or something. I don't think they had a root beer flavor Blow Pop.
I like the Tootsie Pops.
Yeah, Tootsie Pops was mine as well.
Oh, I was a Blow Pop. I like the gum.
I didn't want the gum.
Well, you'd be wrong then, wouldn't you?
I would be wrong.
And see,
right for me.
As usual, I'm going to take the other path, and I'm going to say my favorite were Dum Dums. For one reason.
Well, it's
Kojak used Dum Dums.
Yeah, that's right. Who loves you, baby?
I was a Kojak
but you
fan.
didn't shave your head.
No, but, okay.
No, but nature has taken its toll. I can
speak for yourself, buddy.
Whoa.
Alan and I have a
reeling it in.
Right?
Hold on. I didn't give you 3 options because I do love Dum Dums too. I mean, I've got you in my podcast. So what I'm saying is...
Touche.
There's that horse.
I just wanted that horse to show up.
Yeah, well, you're just a co-host around here.
Co-host
I
unite.
just love Alan's expression right now.
The answer's
what
been
happened
answered.
here?
Yes, the answer's been answered.
And so we'll see you tomorrow on minute number 45.
That was a short one.
We're rebranding the show. This is going to go solo. The band has broken up
over Tootsie Pops.
Over creative
Over
differences.
Tootsie Pops. Over that dadgum Kojak. I knew he was going to get in the way of our show.
You dumb.
Kojak.
At least one of us didn't say ring pops.
Oh, my God.
Throw us all out
those
of
are
here.
girls.
Those
are
okay. Dum-dums aside, we all love dum-dums.
Yes, we do.
Just go with it.
Sure.
But between Tootsie Pop and Blow Pop, when you were growing up, which did you prefer?
Oh, Blow Pops.
Blow Pops. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you like when you'd have to chew the leftover bits of hard candy in the
that was
in
the
the
best.
gum? So you're like chewing gum, but it's also got all the leftover bits that you couldn't finish.
Crunchy, it's awful.
Yeah, see, I usually took that part and put it in a slingshot that I had.
See, and you'll notice those two agreed on the same one. So did we. And in my case, it's just I side with who can hurt me the most.
Which is why you two have BK on the air and we have the Wilder Ride.
That's right. That's right.
Well, y'all have BK on the air too.
We do. And you're
talking about here.
Wow, we just are all one big messed up bundle.
This is a...
Well, we like Dum-Dums. You said it
Right.
yourself.
And we're back to loving Dum-Dums.
It's in that or an agreed thing. We agree on that.
We are. If nothing else, we can agree on Dum Dums.
How did we
A
get
room
there?
full of them.
I don't
was
know.
crazy. It's awesome.
We told you this was a
Who
wild
asked
ride.
the question of how
Awesome.
many licks you get to the center of a Tootsie Pop?
I did.
I thought that was you.
The world will never know why he's wearing a stethoscope.
Oh, so that was your...
Why he's checking.
Oh, that was the purpose.
We may never know why. We have our theories.
We have theories.
Why, yeah.
Well, as we begin to wind down this particular moment, we've got, as you mentioned, and we've all noticed, you've got Igor and Inga at the giant wheel, the crank, which we can assume does something to help with the body and this. We don't know what yet because we haven't seen him turn it, but obviously it's part of this grand experiment.
Well, after the elevate me, kind of a clue is what's going to happen.
Well, if you're paying attention to dialogue and things like that, but let's face it,
Which
we're talking.
the doctor isn't.
It's a modern audience.
No.
Nobody knows what's going on.
That's
There's not an explosion every 13.2 seconds.
But you're not bitter.
No, not at all.
Get off my lawn.
So when it comes to the doctor and the stethoscope, we've decided what's going on there. This actually is one of those great pendulum shifts again. Just after all the little bit of comedy, the misunderstanding, you've got multiple comedy here. The high writing of the two people misunderstanding each other. You've got sort of the low comedy of like, elevate me. Sorry, it's a little body humor. You've got the visual humor of them at the wheel. And BK liked the humor of the idea that you'd use a stethoscope on the dead body. We go very serious here with what I think is probably one of the best written monologues. I actually went to look in the book to make sure they hadn't lifted actual dialogue from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which they did not. This was crafted specifically for this film.
Yep.
I actually looked at the 1931 for the same thing.
Nope.
I was trying to find out if he had made some sort of speech before he reanimated the monster.
But I will say this: his monologue that starts, and when he does that excellent monologue that was written for him, it is, though, without being word for word from the book or whatever, it is very Frankenstein, modern day Prometheus-like.
Oh yes,
the whole
very much
speech
so.
that he gives could just as easily have been lifted from the book or something like that.
And what I love, unfortunately, with the minute-by-minute format that we're in, we're not going to be able to hear the final thoughts because he's obviously talking about ever since man has crawled out of the stinking bits of slime and shouted at the cold stars, I am man, our greatest dread has always been the knowledge of what? Knowledge of what? We won't know until tomorrow.
Yeah,
Apparently it's how many licks does it take to get to the center of a
licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop?
Well, it also begins to show you how far gone he is.
Yeah.
He really has bought into this hook, line, and sinker.
Well, and this speech really has that flavor of so many characters who have the God
Complex.
syndrome,
Oh, yeah.
God complex. They are the center of the universe.
Yeah. I think what we're seeing here is the pride of man to that degree where now he puts himself on the same playing field as God himself.
Absolutely.
And the language conveys that. The style of delivery conveys that. The fact that Gene Wilder could start at a already fairly high note in terms of his intensity, and he can build and build and build, and you keep thinking, okay, he's peaked. By the time we get to the next minute, we're like, there's no way. And yet he finds new levels. That's something Gene Wilder has always been able to do. He doesn't just shout. He builds to that point where you're thinking there's no way you can shout any higher, and yet he leaves room for the crescendo.
And I don't think he blinks the entire
I don't think
time.
he does either.
I don't know. We'll have to take a look.
And we'll talk about this too. Gene Wilder has moments like that in almost every one of his films where he does build and scream and yell like
Oh, yeah.
that.
Yeah,
he really
sure.
does. I mean, some of the ones that we're going to cover in the podcast in the future, we'll see that.
Well, and you have the intensity here, and the pulpit, his pulpit is his monster. It's his creation. And he is almost standing on his creation, shouting about the smallness of humanity as he's trying to be God.
What an interesting way to put it. Inga and Igor are the congregation that he's talking to.
Yeah.
And the gurney and whatnot is the altar or whatever. It's all there. That is interesting to put it that way. Wow, I just got deep there for a second. I'm sorry. I apologize.
All
for that.
these mics all of a sudden creak at the same time.
That's right.
But that is well. Let's keep the church analogy in mind for tomorrow because I think, Walt, you definitely have nailed that one. I think this is anytime somebody is involved in this kind of thinking, you can always break it down to elements of religion. In this case, misguided.
Absolutely.
But there's still a service happening here. There's a ritual that's happening here. We're watching an orderly step that you have to go through to achieve the result of this consecration, whatever this is that we're about to see in the next minute. So we're in the middle of our high mass. We're not able to fit. You can't walk out of church now. We haven't had communion yet.
Absolutely not.
So, Mike, do you have anything left that we did not cover in minute 44?
Well, I think it'd be fun in the group if people put down their reasons that he's using a stethoscope on a dead body.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Come up with a good reason.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We've asked a lot of questions for their
We've given
responses.
our listeners
That's
a lot
great.
of homework this week.
We have.
No, we want to know if they're engaged.
I don't Don't say that.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm kidding.
Well, I know that some of them are out there going, these guys have tons of questions and no answers. What's going on here?
What's the point of the podcast? You're supposed to be telling me something.
We have a lot of theories.
Quit stirring up my brain.
And those two are on the radio? What the hell?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the other question there.
Got to grease a lot of palms.
Exactly. Nobody else wants to work Saturday.
Exactly.
Sadly, that's the truth, probably.
No.
BK, anything left in this minute you want to bring up? Anything in your notes?
Nothing. Just the way this scene is shot in the upcoming minute that we're going to cover obviously is going to get much more deeply and in depth, and I really can't say anything until the next scene. I have to hold some things in check here.
Walt, anything left on your notes?
The only other thing was the observation that his hair is getting crazy. And
Yep.
Crazier.
They have a Twitter page called Burt Reynolds Mustache. They should have one called Gene Wilder's Hair.
They really should.
They really should.
Well, then I've heard his mustache also changes from scene to scene.
It does.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah,
pay
there are a
attention,
couple
there's some
times.
subtle differences.
Yes.
Sometimes the mustache goes all the way to the corner of his lips, sometimes not. Sometimes it swoops almost like it's heading back up, which makes you wonder, is it really his mustache? And did he have maybe a shaving accident one of the days before filming and they had to kind of just doctor it the best you can and let's just hope and go with it.
Yeah, he's almost got a reverse Hitler here where he has nothing in the middle.
Exactly.
And he's got
Reverse
mustache
Hitler.
on the
It is.
outside.
Take a look. If you
That's worse than a reverse mohawk.
It really is.
Almost, yeah.
It's a disaster.
All right, well, we jokingly talked about Saturday shows. BK, you actually do have your very own radio show. Where can people tune in to listen to BK on the air?
Yes, I do. Saturdays from 10 a.m. till noon Eastern on WBHF Radio. You can listen if you're far, far away. You can go to the website, WBHFradio.org, and click the link there and listen there, and it'll take you to TuneIn. Or you can just download the TuneIn app and listen to it live as we're doing it in total clarity on your mobile device or your cell phone.
And Walt, if somebody wants to listen to more of this, or they just stumbled across and they're in the wait a minute, there's something that came before this, and I need to find out where we started. How can our listeners get all?
And hopefully
caught up?
something afterwards will
Yes,
come too,
hopefully. Hopefully. Yes, I would encourage you to go out to www.thewilderride.com and find us there. Also, find us on our Facebook page and our listeners group at www.facebook.com/thewilderride. Also, if you like what you're hearing, please go out to iTunes and find us there and make a quick comment. Give us a 5-star rating if you really like what you're hearing, and let your voice be heard there. And as Mike mentioned a few minutes ago, we would love for you to join in the conversation, ask any questions, answer any questions that we haven't answered,
Yes.
and let us know what you're thinking about
In the
show.
Facebook group.
The cool
in
thing,
the Facebook
the
group.
cool thing about social media, it is a two-way conversation. We will be social with you if you're social with us. So leave us a word or leave us a question or a comment, and who knows, you'll get one of us responding to you. And you do want to come back tomorrow because we need to continue this scene as the doctor is in the midst of his monologue, and it will end tomorrow with Igor at the equipment, turning some knobs and, I don't know, doing Igor stuff.
Igor stuff, exactly.
You need to come back tomorrow to get the whole thing right here on The Wilder Ride, where I don't know how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop.
Tootsie
I think
Pop.
3 is not enough.
Mr. Owl, such a...
Fuck that bird.
I'll kill him.
No, I got nothing.
You're so used to self-editing.
Yeah, it's kind of fun when you can just say anything you want to. Isn't it?
I'll do it again just for BK. Ready?
I can't cuss on the radio because it's so fun to do it now. So I let a little bit out because I know it's going to be beeped out with the horse thing.
Well, that is just
I
going to
think
be
it's
cut.
funny to do one every now and then.
Just for you, BK. Fuck that bird.
The bird is the word.
He's like, there's some malice in the way you deliver that.
Say
Really
the F
is,
word.
man.
It's
You
a-
got some bitterness towards
it's,
Mr. Owl.
It's just my favorite word.
4-letter word.
It's my favorite. When I take that quiz, when you get up to heaven, what's your favorite curse word? The
We ain't getting in this.
It is. It's the most amazing word in the world.